I've seen like a recent study that came out that tested like men's sperm or
Yes.
like their semen, and they found like billions of microplastics in there, and that's like scary.
That is actually one thing I had to talk about. There's actually studies out there that shows that it lowers testosterone levels and affects sperm quality and infertility for men and women, which is like insane because we don't talk about these things. No one tells us about these things.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Physio Diaries podcast. We are your co-hosts, Dr. Melanie Ziaziris
and Dr. Alice Koshavatsky, where students, healthcare professionals, and wellness junkies come to get the inside scoop of the healthcare and wellness industry.
The podcast you didn't know you needed by your favorite travel physical therapist.
What's up, physio community? We want to thank you guys for tuning in, but we have one favor to ask you. So we have triple-digit followers, but double-digit reviews. And honestly, I don't think you guys realize how much the reviews really help us out. So please, please, please give us a review, preferably 5 stars, so we can keep growing and giving you guys amazing content and bringing amazing guests on. All right, so let's talk about these wellness trends.
A big thing that I think has actually been in like social media has been regulating your stress or regulating cortisol levels. Okay.
Moon face, all of that cortisol shit.
Moon face, buffalo hump, yeah, whatever other things there are. But yeah, so I feel like a lot of people have been talking about cortisol for a long time, and we know what it is and kind of like the pathophysiology of it because of PT school, but I don't think I heard of the word cortisol mentioned that often until like a couple years ago. I don't know about you.
Well, like I remember learning about it in school. And in terms of like, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting the term, but too much cortisol, what is the term?
Just too much cortisol.
I forgot. It's like an actual name for it and like conditions. But like too much cortisol. And we learned in terms of like the PT world and just like endocrine system dysfunction and stuff like that. But not in terms of just like day-to-day living.
And how to kind of
like
manage
a medical way.
Yeah. So most of us at this point, probably if you are on social media, have heard about cortisol. And we know that high cortisol is bad. Like, it just sounds kind of scary. Like, oh my gosh, you have high cortisol for a long period of time. Like, that's not good. But of course, there are times when cortisol can be good because it is a stress hormone. And it basically, at the end of the day, can keep us alive, right? Like, let's say there's like a wild hippopotamus, like chasing you. I don't know why like that came to my mind. Or like a cheetah or whatever is chasing you, your cortisol is going to protect you because it's going to increase the blood sugar and give you like, supply your body and your muscles with the sugar with quick, fast energy.
Yes. It boosts like adrenaline and like our fight or flight response.
Yes. It can. Your fight or flight response. That is literally going to keep you alive. So cortisol is not like horrible. Like sometimes you can have a little bit of cortisol if you're a little stressed. Sometimes it drives you to like actually get shit done, right? So cortisol isn't like horrible on its own, but it's more when it's like prolonged cortisol or high cortisol levels in your body for a long period of time. That's a big no-no.
I actually saw something, or I don't know. I listened to so many things. But anyway, someone was talking about how we need to like debunk this, like we don't need cortisol because we do need cortisol, obviously, like what we're seeing right now. But something that stuck with me that I heard was that we need a certain amount of cortisol to even just like wake up in the morning. And we need a certain amount of cortisol to just become alert. So we do need those up and down phases of cortisol. It's when it's chronically up high and not able to regulate up and down.
100% agreed. Yeah. That's why I feel like people are like, oh my God, cortisol. But it's like, it's a natural hormone in our body and it regulates a bunch of different things. So it's not necessarily like any cortisol is horrible because like we have to have some, to be alive. So cortisol is the stress hormone. It is produced by the adrenal gland in response to any stressful event in your life. But like we said, having chronically elevated cortisol can lead to overall more inflammation in your body. It has been linked to so many different things such as like depression, anxiety, having a weak immune system, so your body's ability to fight shit off, and even weight gain. Like we said, like the moon face buffalo hump, because you're constantly like, stress eating, you have constantly high levels of blood glucose in your bloodstream because your pancreas is constantly releasing the hormones to get like sugar and to keep sugar into the bloodstream. Cortisol can increase insulin resistance. So if you have a lot of cortisol for a long period of time because of prolonged stress, the pancreas is going to create more insulin, and basically your cells become less responsive to that insulin. And so you almost start to develop like hyperglycemia and almost like diabetic type symptoms.
Okay, wait. We're throwing out a lot of words just for the people that aren't as familiar with insulin resistance, because also that word, like just like cortisol and moon phase, like that should get thrown out. Yes. And like people don't like, you need to understand what something is, right, to actually internalize it. So people who don't understand or have not really heard about insulin resistance, it's something we don't want. We do not want to be resistant to insulin. And we need a certain amount of insulin for our muscles and cells to take in glucose in our bloodstream so that everything is functioning properly in terms of blood glucose and like muscle function and all of that. So when we are insulin resistant, there is free insulin roaming around our blood and higher glucose levels because pretty much the doors to our cells and muscles are not opening for all of these things to get through. So
insulin, when it is released, because we have glucose in our bloodstream, so insulin is like a hormone, I think, right?
Yes.
That is produced by your pancreas. And when insulin is released normally in the body, that signals the cells to uptake the glucose that's in the bloodstream. But what insulin resistance means is that your cells aren't as good as taking the glucose out of your bloodstream and into the cell. That's like insulin resistance.
Yes.
And it's not,
and that
like you said,
bad. We don't want it. We don't want it. It increases inflammation. It increases we don't want too much glucose staying in our bloodstream for that long.
No, it's not good. And that's basically what like diabetes is, type 2 diabetes.
Exactly. What diabetes is.
Type 1 diabetes is when you don't produce the insulin in the first place. So that's like insulin dependent diabetes. And then type 2 is insulin resistant diabetes, which is exactly what we just mentioned.
Yes.
Yeah. And the whole goal of this podcast, well, there's goals, multiple, but one big one is like, we want to kind of help you guys understand your health from like a not super complicated point of view for those that are not in healthcare. So sorry for using those, throwing around those big words.
No, you're good. I would just like, wait, we should just like explain a little bit more. But like today we're going to talk about like so many different trends and like things you see on social media and really like explain.
This is mine and Mel's seriously like bread and butter. It's not really like physical therapy. We don't get this a lot in school, but I feel like we both have been going on this like health journey and just trying to be as healthy as possible and be as educated as possible. So we like this topic a lot. So you might be thinking, well, great, like I have elevated cortisol, like I am screwed. No, you're not. There's a lot of different ways to lower your cortisol levels and lower your stress levels. So I'll kind of give you guys a couple ideas on how to like combat this stuff. So first big one is physical activity. That's important for every single person. Life related. Yeah. Everybody should be working out, moving your body. Like that's what we were made to do. We weren't made to, sit still for 8-10 hours a day, right? So physical activity not only can reduce cortisol levels, it can also reduce blood glucose levels. So by working out, naturally your cells are working and need more energy. So they're going to take the glucose from the bloodstream. So that's like two great things from physical activity. Also, your mood will improve, reduce anxiety, like literally so many benefits. And I think we've talked about this in the past, or maybe not. But a lot of people that are on, like there's studies like anxiety and depression medication versus regular physical activity, they found that the regular physical activity group actually ends up doing better than the medication group.
Yes, because they're not just relying on a medication. They're adjusting their lifestyle for long-term benefits.
Yes. Yeah, so it's like, yeah, you think like, oh, the pill will be easy, you know, it'll change everything. But no, like you have to get up and go to the gym, and that'll help you so much more.
Just get up and go to the gym.
Yeah, it's easier said than done, because I know,
Yes.
like, been there when you're in the
Yes.
dumps, you like don't want to do anything.
Yeah. But I
like,
think the key takeaway here with like
yeah,
cortisol that a lot of people aren't talking about is like what it truly affects, right? Like it's
mhm,
not just like, oh, moon phase, you're going to look puffier and bigger. It's
yeah,
affecting things on a cellular
yeah.
cellular level. My goodness. And like
Yeah,
insulin resistance and cortisol are like very much correlated. So there's a bunch
yeah,
of other things with like prolonged high cortisol levels that affect
mhm.
your health.
Yes. It also can affect your sleep. If you're really
Mm.
stressed, you have high cortisol, like you will not be sleeping as much. It could be a toxic cycle. So it is
Totally.
important to try to like regulate your sleep. Make sure you get good quality sleep. Getting like, I would say 7 to 9 hours is what I've read or seen.
Yeah.
Some people need more. Like
Yeah.
literally 2 nights ago, I think I told you I slept 10 hours.
Yeah, me
It was,
too. I literally was
yeah.
like at least 10. It was
Yeah, I
so
think
nice.
almost 11, and that never happens to me. Like I always wake up at 6, but I woke up at 7:30. My boyfriend was like gone out of the bed, and I'm like, how long did I sleep? My body just needed it. So,
I have
um,
heard women need more sleep than men.
me too. Yeah, and I believe that.
I believe that 100%.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but yeah, men and women can be different, and honestly, between people can be so different. Like some people somehow can function on 5 hours, not me. I
No,
am a
I
zombie and I'm a
cannot.
bitch if I have 5 hours of
Moody
sleep.
as fuck.
Yeah. But anyway, so sleep is important. You want to get like consistent sleep. You want to try to get up and go to bed around the same time every night if you can. Then something that Casey Means talked about in her book was like blue light glasses. That was a big thing like maybe 2-3 years ago, but
Oh,
I
yeah.
recently got a pair, and I
Oh.
try past like I would say after work, if I'm doing stuff on my computer for the podcast, or I'm on my phone, or I'm watching like the TV, I will wear them. And what it does is like basically the light messes with your melatonin levels and your like circadian rhythms, which circadian rhythm is basically your sleep wake cycle and the hormones in your body that regulate all of that. So that's your circadian rhythms. Like when it's light outside, that initiates you to wake up and, you know, tells you should be awake and doing stuff. And when it starts to get dark, you start to kind of, tone it down.
Melatonin starts to, increase
Yes.
in the body. And
Yeah.
yes, a bunch of processes happen internally.
Mm-hmm. So basically with the blue light glasses, it's filtering that artificial light. Like that light, when it goes in your eyes, tells your brain like, oh, we should still be awake. You know, it might still be daylight. Like we should be doing stuff. So the blue light glasses help to kind of, it's not as much for your eyes. It's more about that whole process and being able to like fall asleep easily. And decreasing that like stimulation in your brain. So we talked about sleep, but you guys know diet is important, obviously.
And how much we talk about diet.
Yeah, so I'm not even gonna like go into it, but overall, focusing on whole foods like fruits, veggies, whole grains, avoiding more processed things. Obviously, it's hard to do all the time, 100% of the time, but try to reduce like processed sugars, artificial sweeteners, that kind of thing. Okay,
Because
this one. Yes.
that can affect your cortisol levels, especially like the
Cortisol.
process, the added sugars. All of those are like pro-inflammatory, and higher cortisol can start to become pro-inflammatory.
Right.
So we don't want all of these things to just cycle off of each other. And that's what happens a lot of the time.
Yeah, like you already have so much inflammation in your body, and then eating those like a lot of sugar or artificial sugar can just elevate that as well. Okay, I know this is something that like you've cut out, but honestly, like,
well, I'm just limited. I'm drinking matcha currently that has some, but
that's true. That's true. Well, I meant more coffee. I usually, like on my last job, I barely drank coffee. Like I was sleeping a lot. I wasn't as tired because I was working like 2 days, and then I had a break on a Wednesday, and then I had another 2 days to work, and I just wasn't that tired. But this job is kicking my ass. Like honestly, it's got me so tired. It's the same shifts basically, but this job, for some reason, they don't keep the same patient with you. Like every patient sees multiple therapists, and so I'm seeing so many new patients. And it's so much more fatiguing because I have to chart review. I have to get to know them. I have to small talk. And it's just so exhausting. And then I'm doing 4 10s in a row. So that's my justification. But I've been drinking more coffee. But honestly, if you are going to drink coffee, you should drink like water and then have a bite to eat before you have your coffee to reduce the cortisol spike. Because coffee basically gets your adrenaline going, kind of. It also increases heart rate. It increases your blood pressure. So some people can really respond like that a lot to coffee. Like, you know, when you drink 2 cups of coffee
or Celsius.
And then you get like nervous and anxious. It's because it's like raising your blood pressure, raising your heart rate, and it can make you like nervous because it's like a stimulant. So it's like, I had that sometimes where I'm like, I had too much caffeine today and like my mind is running way faster than it usually would. You drink matcha, so that's still a little bit of caffeine. I love an iced coffee and like the taste of it.
Yeah. Every once in a while, I'll do a little decaf latte if I'm really craving a latte.
I know.
It's been a while.
Yeah. And I would say too, like try to avoid caffeinated drinks after like 2-3 o'clock to make sure that you'll sleep well that night. Okay. And then relaxing activities, literally anything that you use to find like pleasure in, like coloring or singing or going outside for a walk or doing yoga, anything that you find relaxing that you do for fun, you know, just because you have to do it like work. Find like some activity that you enjoy. Like what kinds of things do you enjoy or what do you like to do?
Yeah. And like going back to like, yes, activities you like to do that really make you happy, feel good activities, but also like we've talked about before, like cortisol is driving more of that sympathetic nervous system. And so if you're chronically in that sympathetic drive, we need to offset that with more focus on the parasympathetic system, that rest, digest, stimulating that vagus nerve we've talked about plenty of times before. Right? Like, just any type of breath work, meditation, you know, some cooking can be your meditation. Anything that calms you down and you feel that sense of like, okay, I can breathe again. That's really what we're going for here.
Even like binge watching a show that doesn't take a lot of brain power. Like for me, it's kind of like Gossip Girl. I just put it on and then I color and I'm like, honestly, very zen. Very relaxed. And it's if you find something, I think that like takes like focus still, like coloring, you have to focus on the coloring and make sure you don't go out of the lines versus like something that you could do, but then you could still be stressed. You want to make sure that it has your attention type of thing. But yeah, those are just some ideas for you guys because we don't want to just be like, oh my gosh, having high cortisol is bad. But it's like, what do you do about it? Because it is so modifiable.
Yes. What do you think about the whole moon phase thing?
What do you mean?
Like, I feel like I see so many Instagram reels and TikTok videos of like, oh, you have moon phase, do this, and it'll be gone.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly think I may have used to have it because I was very stressed. Like I was just looking at pictures. I'm like, oh my gosh, my face was really round and it never used to be like that. I also like I know I clench my jaw. So my masseter is probably huge, but I don't know. I wouldn't even worry about that. Like I would worry about how you feel. Like you can have elevated cortisol without having moon face, without having buffalo hump. Buffalo hump is like when you have like a hump at the top of your neck here, if you guys are curious. But it's just another indicator of like high cortisol levels.
I wanted to say one last thing about the cortisol segment, because I just learned this recently. It's kind of like things we know, but we haven't really like thought about in this sense. But with work, we do like monthly kind of reviewing certain things to make sure like everyone's on the same page with like research and evidence-based knowledge. And we were talking about surgery and the effects of insulin resistance, hyperglycemia, so high glucose levels, and cortisol and how that affects post-surgical tissue repair. Yes. And I was like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense. Like it's kind of putting all pieces of the puzzle together, but it's really relating it all. So I'm just looking at my notes that I took on this thing we had at work. And it was pretty much saying that cortisol is catabolic. So it breaks things down. But when we sleep, we want it to be low. So, right, like we want it to increase in the morning to help us with alertness and wake up. But at night, we want it to be low because it helps with tissue healing. So increased cortisol actually interferes with tissue healing. So if you're in that chronic stress phase, your body actually won't heal as well. And I think that's an important part for people to know, like in terms of surgery, because that really is why like inflammation is super important, right? Like sleep's super important. We want things to be balanced after surgery to help. But like, you get surgery, you're eating processed foods, you're sleeping 3 hours, like you're not going to heal as quick.
Well, I agree for sure. Also, a lot of like doctors, at least like I've seen, have to tell patients like you need to lose weight before your surgery.
Yes.
But it's like that's a big thing too. But also they maybe need to start educating them about this too, because it really is huge. Like I know I didn't know about surgery specifically, but I know like all of our patients in general, anyone that is really, really stressed is more likely to develop chronic pain.
Yes.
Like hyperalgesia or like CRPS, which is complex regional pain syndrome. It's basically when, and we've talked about this before too, CRPS, when people are very hypersensitive and have a lot of pain compared to like the amount of tissue damage that they have. And so it's just because their nervous system is so heightened that the littlest amount of input can send them over the edge. Like right now I have a patient who is so sensitive. She was in a
touch, like to everything.
Yes, everything. She had a shoulder surgery, was in a sling for 7 months, is like
7 months?
Anxious. 7 months. I'm like, that's almost a year.
Way.
Crazy.
That's actually insane.
She 100% has some sort of central nervous system like disorder now. And she's so sensitive. I barely stroke her shoulder.
Oh my gosh.
We can't do anything. And she's so stressed. I think because like she hasn't been at work. She has financial stressors, like a lot of different things. And I just see how that has like translated to her shoulder, and the therapy has just been a lot more difficult because of it.
Oh my goodness, that is wild. 7 months. I have so many questions and so many concerns.
Same. I wanted to ask her, but I also didn't want to be so like shocked because I didn't want to like kind
honestly
of like,
though, sometimes I feel like people need the shock factor because sometimes I have to do it because I'm like, you need to know that this is not okay.
I know. I'm like, what was the reason that you were? And even now, she's not in a sling, but she's guarding her arm and keeping it so close to her body. And I'm like, when she walks, I'm like, lower your arm, like constantly, because she needs to just have that input and tell herself it's okay to relax that arm. It's crazy. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So we could go on and on about that. But next topic into our wellness trends.
I love this one.
You guys have probably all heard the term non-tox or low-tox. Personally, you can't live a non-toxic life. It just can't happen. But you can live a low-tox life. So there's like so much right now in the low-tox community relating to like the products we're using, the additives in our food, the processed ingredients in our foods. But I think the biggest thing that we don't think about outside of food is the plastics. And so that is what I wanted to focus on more for the low tox living, because honestly, every single aspect of life can be implemented low tox. But I think the plastics are the biggest things that not as many people are talking about. So in terms of just like products in general in the United States, they are not regulated. They are not tested for heavy metals, and there's just not enough testing going on pretty much. And so you can't rely on anything, and you have to do your own research. But the plastics are everywhere. Almost everything has plastics in it, but we can try to avoid as much as we can. So the like big thing right now is the swap for plastics is like glass and stainless steel. But going back to like the different types of things we're looking for that are of concern are I always forget how to pronounce it, BPA, right? BPA, the actual term for it is bisphenols. I think that's how you pronounce it, but honestly, I have no idea. So please.
I've only heard BPA.
Yes. BPA, bisphenols, whatever, phthalates, parabens, flame retardants, PFAS. PFAS? I don't know. They use like a different abbreviation for them, but PFAS is another big one, and then heavy metals. And so all of these are literally toxic to our bodies, they're carcinogenic. Like there's so much research and evidence out there that shows how it disrupts our hormones for men and women, for literally any human. And honestly, probably animals, but like we don't have the research for that.
I was going to say, I've seen like a recent study that came out that tested like men's sperm or like their semen, and they found like billions of microplastics in there. And that's like scary.
And that is actually one thing I had to talk about. But there's actually studies out there that shows that it lowers testosterone levels and affects sperm quality and infertility for men and women, which is like insane because we don't talk about these things. No one tells us about these things. And like infertility for women, the thing everyone talks about is like IVF and all of those things that cost so many dollars and are so many hormones you're putting into your body. And like, we're not talking about the things we're doing and eating and our lifestyle that's affecting it. Right. Obviously, I think the biggest one is BPA that everyone knows, like stay away from, but like why, Have you heard about the phthalates?
I've heard of them mentioned, but like not a ton.
Not like in extent. Yeah, that's fair. Same. I knew that like certain things are bad, like stay away from parabens, phthalates, the P words, and like BPA, but like what is the point? Phthalates are always added to plastics, but they're also in your fragrances. So like plastics, deodorants, perfumes, like anything with a fragrance has most likely phthalate in it. Like personal care, hair gels, shampoos, soaps, lotions. And then BPA is more in like the hardcore plastics, like the containers, the water bottles, the juice bottles, lenses, cans, eyeglasses, like anything with like a true plastic that you would assume. If it doesn't say BPA free, it has BPA in it for sure. So phthalate exposure has actually been associated with like cognitive delays in children. We talked about the like testosterone, sperm quality, pregnancy or infertility in women. I also saw something on thyroid levels, which is just like hormones, right? So like it makes sense since it's an endocrine disruptor, hormone disruptor, that it would affect that. BPAs actually affect our estrogen, which I had no idea. I literally got in like a wormhole doing all of this research, and I was like, I can't get further into this because there's too much.
Yeah, it's just scary because like literally everything has it. Even our water has it. Like,
yes.
Yeah, it's like a little overwhelming.
Yeah. And like, do you ever drink tap water anymore?
No, I always filter it. I used to, but not anymore.
What about at restaurants? Do you trust restaurants?
No,
like,
I mean, sometimes I'll drink it if I'm really, really thirsty and I need water. Fair. But I hate when you go to the restaurant and it tastes literally straight out of like the toilet. I'm like, this is disgusting.
Yes.
And you could taste I don't know what it is in there, but it's so gross.
Yeah, no, 100%. So there was another study I saw too, and breast cancer there's like associations with estrogen for women. There's a lot of hormonal factors for breast cancer. And there was actually a study done that had women, there was like the control and then the experimental, right? So the experimental were asked to remove all types of personal care products that had phthalates and like fragrances in them. So like their shampoos, their deodorants, their lotions, all of that stuff, fragrances. They removed it all for a month. And it showed the breast cancer gene expression was drastically reduced. So it's just showing how like that can either further express or reduce that mutation and like gene expression.
That's crazy. I feel like it's just overwhelming as a healthcare professional. Like I always ask people about their past medical history. And like literally it seems like every other person has a history of like breast cancer, lung cancer, every kind of cancer. Everyone has had it at least once. And it's like, it feels like it's just going up and up. And it's like, I think more and more people are looking at our food. They're looking at our lifestyle and everything. And now people are like starting to question, like, why are the rates going up?
Right. Like, what is the actual reason to all of these things? But there's some crazy research and things I saw too. One study showed that, or maybe not it was one study, but like other studies too, showed that phthalate levels tend to be higher in Black and Hispanic women, which I thought was super interesting because of fucking course, right? Like it's associated too with like lower socioeconomic status, right? Like if you don't have the money to just even be educated, have the health literacy, have the knowledge, have the tools and resources to have this, you know, and eliminate that, you're going to have it in your diet. So you can also probably relate it to low socioeconomic status too. And of course, that's going to be higher.
Those swapping all your shit, like getting like a bamboo cutting board or wooden cutting board versus like,
or
you know,
glass
plastic
or
is
steel.
so cheap. Yeah, or glass or stainless steel. Like switching your water bottles, that's like really expensive.
Yes, it can be. It can be.
Yeah.
For it doesn't have to be always, but
for people that are barely even like paying their rent and like supporting multiple children, like that's maybe not an option for them.
Yeah,
you know?
like of course you're gonna go for like the $1 plastic cutting board at like Dollar Tree if you don't have the means to do more because you have to worry about other things.
Yeah, that was me in college. Like I went straight to Dollar Tree. Got like plastic everything. And now that I think about it, I still use plastic measuring cups, which I should probably swap out. But anyways.
But yeah, so I thought that was super interesting. Going back to the water real quick, because this gave some actual numbers. You know, we all like numbers. We like concrete data to help prove certain things, right? So 1 liter of water in like plastic that you would get from the grocery store contains an average of 240,000 plastic particles from 7 types of plastics.
That's wild.
Like,
that's so
much. The number is
much.
insane in just 1 liter. And you can go through 1 liter in like 1 to 2 days if you really tried.
So you're getting like 600, whatever, 1,000.
Yeah.
More. I mean, yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. And like, who knows, right? Heat affects plastic. So like if things are heated, that actually produces more, what is the term? I'm not sure what the correct term is. And I don't want to mess
like
it
releases
up.
the chemical.
Yes. It like releases more and it adheres to whatever it's like the liquid or food, it adheres to it better. So, like heating plastic is even worse. And if you think about like all these things at the stores just sitting on the shelves, right, for like days on end, you don't know how long certain things are. And like even before they get to the stores, how long they've been in processing. And if they're in a van going through Florida in the heat, like, you know, there's so many things to think about.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm like, ignorance is bliss, but like, no, it is important to like know. But like hearing some of this stuff honestly makes me sometimes a little like helpless. I'm like, no matter how much I do, like I'm still gonna have plastics. But it like you said, it is modifiable and you can't be like totally free of plastics, at least in the US probably. But you can reduce your exposure for sure.
Yes. So some ways to eliminate would be like taking out plastic cups, you know, plastic containers, switching out pretty much everything you can for glass or stainless steel, like your water bottles, your
meal prep
utensils. Yes. Like literally anything that's plastic can be switched out for glass or stainless steel. Fragrances, deodorants, the personal care items, anything that says fragrance or parfum has a phthalate. It has phthalates in it. So like making sure it says phthalate free, or its fragrance is by essential oils and not like fragrant. No Teflon pans, no ceramic, aluminum. For Teflon actually has a lot of PFAS. So we want to swap it out for stainless steel, pots, pans, cast iron, carbon steel, pretty much anything with steel, stainless steel, or like cast iron.
I switched because I cook a lot. Like I switched to everything stainless steel. And it's actually, I mean, it's a little bit more expensive than like the Teflon ones, but it is like, you know, first of all, it holds up way better because once you have a bunch of scratches, it's like you do not want to be using the Teflon.
Yeah. And with every scratch, like thousands of plastics are released.
And you're releasing it because it's like warm. You're literally heating up. Oh my gosh. I did not know. Also, by the way, this year was because last year was like when I kind of started switching to all these like health trends. And like I've been using only wooden cutting boards, like trying to use only stainless steel. But my mom and my grandma still use plastic cutting boards, and I would like go over to their house and eat, and I'm like, this is like not good. And so for like the holidays, I got both of them, like this set on Amazon, which I think was like no more than $30 for 3 really good quality bamboo cutting boards, and
that's so good.
they're amazing. Yeah. So like you can use one for meat, you can use one for vegetables, you can use one for fruits. And it is a game changer. Like you just feel healthier, like eating the food. I don't know.
Yeah, no, for sure. But if you guys like really want to know more about toxicology and like all of that, Dr. Yvonne Burkhart is a toxicologist, and I love her stuff on social media. So go check her out because she has a lot of really cool information out there.
That'd be cool to get her on the podcast.
Oh my gosh. Well, if y'all review us and we get higher up on the podcast game, maybe we can.
Well, okay, that was a great category. One that we are both very interested in. But our next one that we both love and I will be trying soon is mouth tape. If you guys missed our last episode with Dr. Nicole Manov, she is a dentist based in Chicago, and she has her own mouth tape they're called Night Lip Company. They're really cute because, you know, if you see the mouth tape, it's like it can irritate your skin. It might not stick because of your skincare. It's just not cute. But these are like in the shape of lips, and they are really, really cute. And we will have the link below for you guys to go on the website and, you know, kind of look at that and see if you're interested. We do have we'll just talk about it now, I guess, too. But we have a promo with it's called Say Less Night Lips. And so Nicole said that she could give our listeners a full week of their brand new pink night lips with their first order. So go check them out. They are great. And we wanted to kind of dive in a little bit more of this episode on what mouth tape is and kind of the benefits of it. So personally, I have not used it yet, but I will check in once I use the night lips. But anyways, you've probably seen mouth tape trending. I mean, who has it if you're on TikTok or Instagram? But basically you place a strip of tape around your mouth to keep your mouth kind of closed throughout the night. Or when you're sleeping. So let's encourage more nasal breathing versus mouth breathing at night. And some of the benefits of this is reduced snoring. There was a study that actually recruited people with mild obstructive sleep apnea. And they found that mouth tape actually led to a significant reduction in snoring, which makes sense because when you're snoring, your mouth is wide open.
Yeah.
There was also a reduced degree of sleep apnea. Sleep apnea is when you have bouts of time in your sleep where you basically are not breathing, which is like very concerning. Some people that have like severe sleep apnea like have to wear like a CPAP at night because it'll continue delivering them oxygen even when they're not like breathing. There's an apnea index and a snoring index that they use, and they found that both were reduced by half with the people that wore the mouth tape. But like we said, these people had mild sleep apnea, so it wasn't like moderate or severe. But still, even that I thought was crazy. I'm like, that's a huge benefit. And I would guess I have mild sleep apnea because I snore a little bit. And so I'm excited to see and report back the benefits of it and what I noticed. And then with that goes along with improved sleep quality. So that same study kind of found that the people in that mouth tape group had improved sleep, which is great because of all the things we just talked about before in the cortisol category. Yeah, so improved sleep is important because you could be sleeping, but if you're not getting quality sleep, that is another issue, right? So you want to get your REM sleep, deep sleep, usually where you're dreaming, and that is important. REM is rapid eye movement. You want to make sure you get REM sleep. Then we talked about this as well, but you're going to have overall improved oral health, right? Like if your mouth is dry and open all night long, it's going to have reduced saliva, which is bad for your gums. They're not going to be as healthy.
That was like, I think one of the things that stuck with me from last episode that I had like no idea about. I did not realize that having a dry mouth increases cavity risk. And that's like something no one talks about.
Yes. I only knew that because, and I kind of put two and two together. So I like rarely get cavities. Like I think I've had like 2 in my life.
That's amazing.
I know.
I wish.
So my mouth, and this is like weird, but I produce a lot of saliva. Like they always would tell me that when I had braces, they'd be like, have to suction so much because like I would get more saliva. Honestly, not gonna lie, when I was younger, sometimes there was days that I didn't brush my teeth, which is insane to me now because
It's so
I feel
funny.
so gross. Yeah, like now I have
Yeah.
to brush them at least twice a day. And so yeah, I think that I linked that. I kind of just guessed that because I have saliva in my mouth, you have enzymes in your saliva, right? Like it's constantly circulating. And I think that that's a big reason why I don't have cavities.
Yeah,
Because
that's
I was like,
really
this doesn't
interesting.
make sense. Like I would go to the doc or the dentist. I'd be like, all right, like they're going to tell me I have like 7 cavities. And they never said anything. They're like, nope, you're good. You're cavity free. And I'm like, really? Like I shouldn't be. Having more saliva production, having a moist, I guess, mouth. I'm sorry, trigger warning for those people that hate that word.
That did make me cringe a little bit. I'm
Oh
not
yeah,
like
made me
super
cringe a
opposed.
little.
I'm not
Yeah.
opposed to the word, but
What
like
would you say
it does
instead? A moist mouth? No, like not dry mouth. Whatever.
wet
So,
mouth.
oh, gross. I feel like that's what.
No, it's worse.
What?
What's
Honestly,
the alternative? I don't know.
yeah, guys, let us know. But yeah, it avoids dry mouth. Okay. Plus, decreases the risk of gum disease, which is very prevalent. I don't know if this is true, but I've heard on TikTok where it's like they'll do a side profile like this and they'll be like, this is my jaw before mouth tape and after. And some people believe it can like kind of chisel your jaw a little bit more, but I don't know if there's that much research behind it.
I don't think that those girls are just doing mouth tape. Like they have to be doing gua sha. They have to be doing other things with it because there's no way it's just the mouth tape that's doing that.
And then people
I
will
don't
be
know.
like,
I don't
oh,
believe
like,
it's just mouth tape.
yeah. They'll be like, oh, she lost weight. And then she'll be like, no, like, I didn't lose any weight. This is just like the mouth tape. So, I mean, it's, there needs to be research. So be wary about that benefit, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to think like, I guess, I mean, I am sure it does help, but I don't think it like is that drastic effects as like some people
of the
online
other
show.
Yeah. They were saying it can reduce a little bit of like the appearance of the double chin because it's, I guess, promoting, because we have muscles in our face and it's promoting a better muscle alignment, I guess.
Yeah, like they're more like if your mouth is open, these are getting more stretched out and this is coming down, right? But like if it's up and your tongue is at the roof of your mouth when your mouth is closed, then it can help for sure. But I don't think it's like, right, like as drastic as like.
Yeah, I'll be a case study for that one.
Yes.
But anyway, last one is the allergen filter. And this is actually big because like I get sick a lot and I feel like I'm so sensitive to everything. And so if you're keeping your mouth closed at night, the air has to filter more through your nose, which you have like cilia, you have like hair in your nose versus in your throat, you really don't have hair. You don't have any. That made me cringe too.
I'm trying not to laugh hard into this microphone right now.
Yeah, I'm like imagining a throat with hair. That'd be disgusting.
Ew. I need to get over here for a second. Oh my god, that made me cringe so much. What the fuck?
Okay. Yes, we don't have that. But yeah, so when you're sleeping at night, your air is circulating through your nose. And so like dust particles, allergens, different things, irritants overall get filtered better because your mouth is closed by the tape, I guess. We talked about our promo, like we said, link below with the mouth tape, say less. We have one more final category that's been getting a lot of attention in the media.
Especially
I don't even know much about it. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So let's talk about the seed oils because there's a lot of controversy with the seed oils right now. I have my own thoughts as well. And then I'm sure you have thoughts too. So there's this term right now called the hateful eight, which I think is just like, I mean, I get it, but like, it's just funny. The hateful eight for seed oils. And it is your canola oil, also known as rapeseed oil. So those are the same. So if you hear rapeseed oil, that's canola oil. There's corn oil, linseed oil, soybean, sunflower, safflower, grapeseed, and rice bran. Yes, they're higher in saturated fats. So you have your saturated and your unsaturated. There's pretty much a bunch of different realms of fats, and they all react a certain way in our body, have different chemical bonds that it really just goes down to like chemistry in our body and how it reacts with us and our food. There's so much out there that some people say seed oils are the worst. Eliminate them completely from your diet. Like, you don't need them. They're terrible for your health. They're increasing inflammation in the body and causing this, and that. And I actually found some researchers and like health and medical professionals that say like seed oils aren't bad. And I'm like, oh my gosh, when are we going to come to like a final conclusion on the seed oils?
I feel like, really quick, I was going to say, I've heard that seed oils for your gut are not great and could predispose you to like cancer and stuff. But the Heart Association was saying that seed oils can be good for your heart. And I'm just like, what the heck? You're just like so torn. And I feel like it's always like, oh, like, you know, don't eat spinach or because it can do this. And then they take that back. So it's so confusing.
There's like not a consensus on seed oils right now. Like no one can agree. But I do. Okay. I'm going to just tell you guys some of the research I found that backed both sides. The biggest thing I've seen with the people that say seed oils are bad is that the process of extracting and putting them into the foods is what is making it the worst. So like the oil on its own, right? Like let's take sunflower oil on its own. On its own, it doesn't seem actually bad, but it's extracted through a process that creates a lot of toxic byproducts, and they have to use hexane to do this just because of the chemical composition. They use hexane and other things to actually extract, and those are hazardous in gas form. And so I'm not sure about the difference between the gas and liquid version of like the hexane and byproducts, but pretty much all of those other byproducts are toxic to us. And then they're put into foods that are highly processed, which is just adding fuel to the storm pretty much. And the FDA does not monitor and regulate these things. Like it is not regulated, honestly, at all. And that, I think, is what is the worst thing about the seed oils, is that they're used in these super processed foods that are not regulated. They're heating them to like super high heats and using these other like gases and whatnot to extract them that are also like toxic. But I did see another person, I'm like forgetting what her title was, but she's some researcher, and she was talking about how omega-6 fatty acids and omega-3 fatty acids, so omega-6, you'll find those in a lot of those seed oils. Omega-3s are more in like your nuts, your salmons, like more food products. We need both of them, first of all. Let me just say that. We need both of them. But we need more omega-3 than omega-6. But they compete for the same enzymes and receptors. So if we have too much of omega-6 and not as much omega-3, then it actually does not allow the omega-3s to bind to these enzymes into our system. So we're kind of overly saturated with these omega-6s that are more pro-inflammatory. So there's that kind of counter effect happening where we're not eating enough omega-3s, which the American diet definitely does not get enough omega-3s, but we have so much of these omega-6s. So we're just not balancing our fast properly. And I think it's really like America, like this is a huge issue in America. Other countries aren't having a lot of these issues that America is having.
Yeah, it's actually crazy because a lot of people will say like, oh, like, you know, I'm gluten intolerant and dairy intolerant in America, but then overseas, like in Europe, I can eat cheese. I can have bread.
Cheese.
And I'm like,
pastas.
I wonder why. Yeah, like you're eating literally so much pasta in Italy or whatever, and they can tolerate it. So it's like, it's clearly our food.
Yeah. And like one of the like researchers I saw that was saying seed oils are not bad is not from America. And I'm like, I can see why you have that perspective, but like, it just doesn't work that way in America. Like, we're just not regulating shit. And like, so many things are getting swept by and into our foods and our system. So it's like, yes, seed oils probably aren't bad in their natural form. Like, I'm sure they're good in their natural form, but we're not keeping them in their natural form. So like, where's the line? I personally though, like, do you buy like canola oil and those other oils?
The only oils that I buy is avocado and then olive oil.
Okay, yes, same. And coconut. I do have coconut oil, but I don't really cook with coconut oil.
I broke mine. I still need to get new. I do actually bake with coconut oil.
That's fair.
And I cook a lot. I don't use not creamer, what is it called? Heavy whipping cream.
The whipping cream.
I use coconut cream instead, and you can barely even taste it, honestly, and it's so
Yes.
delicious.
Yeah, that does sound good. But yeah, well, but I'm half Greek. And so I grew up strictly on the Mediterranean diet.
Yeah.
I honestly didn't even know that so many oils existed because my diet and my home life was purely olive oil. Like, I think my grandma had some vegetable oil for certain things, but I don't know. So I use olive oil for literally everything. So
yeah.
I just obviously took over that, and I pretty much only use olive oil. I've never even seen these other oils like in the stores. Maybe I just haven't looked, but or like canola oil, yes, but the others, I'm like,
have you used avocado oil?
Not in like excess. I mainly use, honestly, I don't even use oils that much.
Yeah.
If I do, it's usually olive oil. I have heard really good things about avocado oil.
I was gonna say what I've heard online is olive oil's good for like salads or to drizzle on stuff, like dip bread and whatever. But avocado oil has a higher smoke point. So olive oil can burn a little bit easier. So it's probably better for cooking because olive oil or avocado can like tolerate higher temperatures. That's the only thing.
That's fair. And a lot of it did talk about like the smoking point and like it's really about the heating because that will change the composition of it. So I'll have to try some avocado oil. I get some avocado oil.
Yes.
But some good alternatives if you just want to be careful of the seed oils. I mean, regardless, like processed foods are going to have all of these. Organic, extra virgin olive oil, avocado oil. Organic is always going to be the best. Then organic, unrefined coconut oil. And I've also heard things about ghee, but I haven't done enough research about ghee. So
same. Yeah.
And
like
beef
butter.
tallow is another thing. Oh, butter. Yeah. It's definitely, I try to eliminate or not eliminate, but like reduce as much butter intake as possible. But like beef tallow is another one that people are trying to replace seed oils with. But I'm like, okay, but like, why are we talking about the full, like, you could say beef tallow and it could be not healthy. What you need is like organic, 100% grass-fed, pasture-raised beef tallow. Like, there's so many nuances to all of these things that are like, so easy to get by and like sweep things under the rug and like not actually have the high-quality stuff.
Yeah. So do your research. Yeah, I think that was 4 like really good categories of like huge things that have been like prevalent in social media. So yeah, we love talking about this stuff.
Yes, we wanted to, just dive deeper into all of these topics and get a little spicy with it, share some research and our perspectives too.
Yeah, we talked a lot about diet today, plastics and everything. And in the future, we would love to get like a dietitian on here and just pick their brain because I think that would be really beneficial for us too.
Yes.
And you guys. But anyways, thank you guys for watching this week's episode or listening or whatever you guys do. Don't forget, if you want to check out the Say Less mouth tape, use our link that we will link in the description box below. We will also have the link on our link tree as well. And you can get a free week of the pink lips with your order. We will see you guys next week where we will be talking a little bit about all the things that we learned in our first year as healthcare professionals.
Yes.
All right.
Bye, guys.